Another show, and apparently it's a good idea to drive 200 miles up the motorway to meet a man in Birmingham who can cook an omelette. No, I didn't think it was a very good idea either, but apparently you can drive a motorbike too.
I'm trying to find the way to this ruddy place.
Basically, it's a very light, fluffy omelette, which is very simple to make, and it makes a nice, pleasant change as opposed to a normal omelette. Nice for breakfast, bit of jam in it. Separate the eggs from the whites.
Well, the yellows from the whites.
Separate the yolks from the whites.
The eggs from the shells.
Separate the eggs from the chickens to begin with.
So as you can see, the whites are nice and fluffy. Then we're going to very gradually mix in our yolks, trying not to knock out the air from the whites. Then we're going to add a tiny touch of salt, just a tiny touch of salt.
Is salt not bad for you?
Yeah. Some sugar. Don't forget it's the sweet omelette. If you don't want to use sugar, I mean, you can use this recipe for a savoury omelette. You can use cheese, so obviously you don't add the sugar. Just slowly mix it all together.
Oh, look at this.
But usually when you make an omelette, you get your pan really hot, and it's a very fast process. Well, it's more or less the opposite, making a souffle omelette. We don't want to cook it too fast. So we're not going to use oil for this omelette, we're going to use butter. It gives it a nice, rich flavour.
Butter cooks at sort of a lower temperature, does it?
Yes, you have to be careful with the butter, obviously. We don't want to burn the butter. Just melt it. And we add our mix. There's enough here for about 4 good omelettes.
I'm having the first one, aren't I, Andy?
You may. Just gently move it. Don't move it around too much. Once it's set at the bottom, under the grill.
Oh, under the grill?
Perhaps been under the grill for a minute or two. But you must not overcook eggs, especially when you're using an omelette. When you're making an omelette, you want them nice and fluffy and moist. So we're going to add a little bit of jam to the centre of that.
How do you know if you haven't undercooked it, then?
You can tell by the feel, the texture of the eggs. Just a little bit of jam in the middle, like that.
So you could just lift it out of the pan the way it is, then?
Oh, yes, you can serve it flat, but... yeah. I think there's only about 2 eggs in that. It looks like there's about half a dozen, doesn't it?
Yeah. Brilliant.
And there we go. 1 souffle omelette.
I think that's mine. Did you enjoy your ride to work?
Bit nippy, but yeah, I enjoyed it, yeah.
Good. Why you can't come to work on the bus like everybody else, I can't imagine.
Speed. Another one on the way.
Always check that the start of the show has got enough to eat before feeding anybody in the crew. That's the secret I would give you, Andy. They're too fat anyway, everybody else in the crew.
My credentials are as follows. Here, between 1964 and 1981...
That's 1964.
That's right, there were 4 editions on food, science and technology. Now, thank you, that's enough. The 1981 edition, this is the 1981 edition, look in the index, and they concentrate to a great extent on packaging, and they're very clever at packaging. Here you are, packaging, page 246 to page 248. Butter, dehydrated foods, filling speeds, fruit juices, materials, pre-formed machines. Must have been ingenious. Whatever they are. It's in the book, though, page 247. Principles of retortable pouches. How are your retortable pouches today?
Very well.
Sophisticated, pre-formed, and sterilizable, flexible. So there's a whole mass of material about food technology, about packaging. Now, the problem really is unpackaging. There should be another industry, pike science and technology. Thank you. You see, because take this broccoli, very clever. I know where it comes from. At least I think I do. No, I don't. Wrong. But it's hell to get into it. Have you ever tried? You're tearing it and I won't do it now. Now, the oldest form of packaging, or one of the oldest, about 100 years old, is putting it in tins. I'm so old, I'm very fond of tin foods. Not everybody likes them. But you see the tin, I got this the other day in the supermarket, and the thing is bent. So over there, I've got a tin opener where you screw round and go round and round, and I know darn well when it comes to the bent bit, I shall be struggling with it, not be able to... An improvement, they should make it easier to get into. The worst, the most dangerous form of tin is the corned beef. The geometry in it is so subtle that even if this thing goes all the way around, you get the top off, the thing is so designed to cut you. It's a dangerous thing. I wonder why the food, the accidents and safety and so on, allow you to use it. Very dangerous. And when you have got the end off, I mean, a tin of corned beef. Then you have to get the corned beef out. And you're banging away, and half the time it doesn't come out. You've got a knife and you can't get it out, and you cut it all to ribbons, and it comes out. It's very annoying, very annoying. So the pike unpackaging industry should be able to get into these things much easier. Sardines are a case in point. Now, they have improved them a bit. You used to have a little key, and I pray that they don't give up the little key, because at least you could get into it, provided you didn't put the key in the wrong way round, so it disappeared up behind the tin.
Or use it to open your door.
Or something.
If it doesn't work.
But now what they've done is they get a little ring, and you go, boom, and then you have to tear it on. I could have done it when I was 75, but now I'm 80, I'm not strong enough. And even so, then it comes off sideways, and you can't get the sardines out. It's not perfect, it's not perfect. Now, here is a common one, fresh milk. I wonder why they put fresh milk in. I'd like to see them have a, things say, stale milk.
Yes.
Everything gone by.
Old rancid milk.
To see what it's like. Now, this is the most difficult kind. It's very clever. See, the packaging industry is very clever. The milk doesn't come through it so much now. When you put it down on top of your newspaper, the newspaper's all covered with milk, does
Yes.
it?
No,
it doesn't.
it's
Thank
true.
you. But it's hell to get into it. Again, you have to pull this. There should be an easier way. And if they put their minds to it, there should be. Now, even such a nice, benevolent thing like an orange. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You've got your 5 oranges. What are they charging? Never mind. And they put them in this nice little bag, but the bag isn't made of any sort of Christian material at all. You had to tear it open, and even if you get scissors, they get all quite. It's not perfect. That's my point. Cheese is just the same. I was going to use, but this belongs to the television company. This is not untouched by human hand. It's quite difficult to get into. And what happens, you end up with your fingernails all filled with cheese, don't you? Yes, you do.
You do?
Yes. If you fall asleep in your armchair after lunch, as I sometimes do, you're only lucky that your fingers aren't gnawed by mice.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly.
Thank you. And all these things have their special problems concerned with unpackaging. That's really the science that should be invented. So you pass it over to your viewers, listeners, and all you people. Pike's unpackaging science. It gives more happiness than many other
To
activities.
thousands of people.
Indeed it would. Yes, there are.
Fooled you then. Right, Hackney. Hackney. This is Cook's shop. They sell eels here. This is Fred Cook. This is Chris Cook. Two strapping men. I'm not convinced about eels myself yet, but I'm willing to be persuaded. Now, we're going to walk off in here, and you're going to watch them cutting up the eels, all right? So, right, I'm not really a Londoner, and I've never eaten eels in my life, and it sort of makes me feel a bit squeamish at all of it. So what's so great about eels, then?
Well, they're so nutritious,
Yeah.
and they're equally delicious and excellent value for money.
The story is that many years back, Elizabeth I gave the rights to the Dutch eel fishermen to allow them to come up the River Thames that is, to serve and sell the eels over the wharf at Billingsgate Market. Now, Billingsgate Market, the old Billingsgate Market, was on the fringe of the East End, so hence they radiated out and became purely an East End delicacy.
Well, we're buying eels most of the year, but you find from, say, November to April, the temperature drops and the English eel isn't available because they go down into the mud. So we try and build up a stock of eels up until, say, the end of November to make ourselves self-sufficient over that period. But then it's also supplemented with eels from other continents.
Matt, is that a good sized one then?
Well, that's a beauty.
Well, this is your cooking of eels. For this time of the week, when we're not quite so busy, that amount of eels will be cooked as one cooking of eels. They're put on in boiling water. A little bit of salt to taste. And they're just left to come to the boil. Once they come to the boil, the gas is turned down so they just simmer gently for about 10 minutes. Yeah, we also serve steak and kidney pies, and years back there used to be eel pies, but the demand for the eel pie dropped off after the First World War. But the taste is still there to have eels and a pie. So we have a lot of public that come in, they have a pie and mash with parsley sauce and a portion of eels on the plate at the same time.
Well, if you had a pie and mash, you'd have it on a plate,
Yeah.
and you just have a spoon and fork to eat it with.
A spoon and fork?
Spoon and fork.
Oh, Oh, how come you... Why not a knife and fork?
Well, it's something that's gone back over the last 60 or 70 years. At one time, we did have knives, but our grandparents found that we were relieved with the knife so quickly.
So people just nick them?
That's right, you just couldn't keep them.
Oh, what's your name again? Billy Bragg. He's here to... And being a good London boy, you know, nuts and wurzels and all that.
That's it.
You bound to love your eels. So we've got your big plate of eels. Yes.
Actually, Dawn, I don't like eels.
You don't like eels?
No, I don't like eels, no. No, I'm afraid I've got a strong aversion to eels. And my Aunt Grace used to make me eat them when I was little, and all that cockles and all that stuff. I can't handle it. So do you mind if I have the pie and mash and you have the eels?
No, go ahead. Who researched this guest?
You did.
Is Dawn eating her eels properly?
Am I doing it the right way?
Got to get the bone off.
But what I don't get is, with all the thing, you can't see where the bone is when you put it down in the...
Feel it. You feel the bone.
I was saying, yeah, it's sensible actually when you think about it. No, don't cut.
Don't cut.
Tell me the story. Tell me the story of the man with the horse's head.
Well, this is film. That patronising woman, she had no idea who I was. I could have had a lay in. I didn't need to be out here having this. I suppose at least I got a free meal out of it, but... I mean...
When you're bottling fruits, basically you're trying to take out all of the air and make it so that the bugs can't live in your nice preserve. The way to do this is either make it with a sugar syrup or a salt solution or with vinegar, or you can use alcohol. With bottling, you blanch the fruit to make it tender, and you can either do this in a syrup or just in water. So having cooked or blanched the fruit, you then pour over the syrup, and it's the syrup which is going to help preserve the fruit.
The whole thing is incredibly busy.
Yes. Isn't that the point?
So,
it's a centre page thing,
but
isn't it?
even so, we're having so much stuff in it, it would be nice to simplify it a little bit.
What's in the syrup?
It's a pint of water to a pound of sugar, and you take the syrup right up to the top of the jar.
We will put a bit of the glass inside so we can actually see the fruit, because there's no point in showing a jam of this sort which is going to go totally black when the film recognises it, because it's about 6 stock darker. So we'll need to get a bit more light through there.
Seal the jar and then turn it back a little bit. That's so that when the bottle is heated in the water, the air can escape from the top, and you keep it in the simmering water for about 2 hours. You allow it to cool, but you tighten the jar as it's cooling, and then you'll have your preserve.
How long does it take you to set
Preserves.
something like that up?
We would, in this
actually been
case,
here
because I
since,
built the set yesterday, yesterday afternoon, I would have hoped to have shot this by maybe 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock today.
Right.
So that's a day's work, virtually.
Right. That's a lie, because we've been here since January the 2nd, and it's now April, and we still haven't done the shot yet. Isn't it just old ladies that make jam?
Oh no, these days everyone can make jam, and it's very much more of a fun craft thing than it used to be. With all the produce we can get these days, all the tropical fruits and everything coming in from abroad, there's very little division of the seasons with fruits and vegetables, so we don't really need to preserve anymore, especially with home freezers as well. It's really essential that you use all the best produce for preserving, because if any of it's overripe or rotten and mouldy, then it's just going to cause your jam or your chutney to go mouldy in the end and ferment. Things like these star fruits that we've got, they're lovely fruits to use, but they started to go at the edges. Now, you'd either have to trim that off or discard the whole fruit and use it for something else.
The setting test.
Right, folks.
The setting test.
Right. Don't jump up and down when you come past the
Right, when you're making jams, one of the most essential things to remember is the setting point. Now, if you don't test for setting, this is the sort of thing that happens and you get a very runny jam. But if you want to avoid that happening, you want to test for setting. And the best way to do it is to spoon a bit of the hot jam or jelly onto a saucer, a cold saucer or plate, and just push it with your finger. Now, that should wrinkle a bit on the surface. That's not quite wrinkling at the moment, so we need to boil it a bit more. And then you'll get a good set jam, like that one. That's a much better one. Not a disaster like our other one.
3, 1, 3, take 1. In this section, we're asking, what is a chutney?
Right, what is a chutney? Well, a chutney is basically a savoury jam, and it still has sugar in it. We make it with vegetables. This is pumpkin and date, just for something a bit interesting. They tend to be sweet, but it's sort of sweet sour with meat. So it's basically just a savoury jam.
Because I often go to the supermarket and I see this box with a picture of a great big fruity cherry cake on it. When I buy it, take it home and cut it, you can't find a cherry anywhere. I mean, that can't be right, can it?
Well, it does happen, I think, but you actually, by law now, in fact, one has to photograph the cake that's in the box. But you do tend to straighten things up, to present it as nicely as possible. But
Things never used to be like that, though, did they?
no. I think appalling things were done 10 years ago.
A feature that we're doing now is flavoured oils. So Sue will tell you all about flavoured oils.
All you need to do with the oils is to pour them into a jar. Here we've used an attractive jar for the photography. And then you can add different herbs or chilies, as we've added, or even tiny bits of sliced pepper. And the flavour will actually go from the herbs and the chilies into the oil. So when you use it for frying meats or for making salad dressings, you actually get the flavour through.
Why do you think people come to you, then, to photograph food? What do you do that's so good?
Oh, Lord.
Come on, it's your chance to sell yourself, chance to get more work.
Yes, quite. Where's my telephone number on there? Really embarrassing question to ask.
I want to know what you think
Well,
you
I mean,
do.
I suppose I've been doing it for a long time, and I can actually do it, so there's that to it.
There's that.
Dawn!
Well, it's essential for a food photographer to be fairly sensitive about the food, for a start. And Don likes his food, and it helps.
As do we
Most
all.
food photographers are really enthusiastic about food,
Yeah.
and they're often quite good cooks themselves, because however good a photographer you are, you need a feeling for what you're actually shooting, and I think it shows that somebody likes food.
24 hours later, and the pictures are back.
We've got everything that we asked for there, and the food looks good, it's colourful, it's clear, it's beautifully lit, and we've got everything we need. It's all shot as per the layout.
So besides doing these kind of shots then, Don, you do other stuff as well, don't you?
Yes, yeah, I do quite a lot. I do a lot of
Happen to
advertising.
have just here.
This is true?
Let's have a look. Let's have a look at these.
Well, you can see the difference between this one and the one the drone would just never use because they're too moody. Really, they could never print the flare because it's too soft and gentle. Normally, you would expect to shoot with a very, very small aperture, you get a great depth of field. But I like this very soft kind of...
It's quite sort of surreal, this,
Yeah.
isn't it? Ah, was it alive, this snake?
Oh, very, yes, ever so.
With that the colour of his eyes?
Oh, they're retouched.
You photographers, you can do anything, I don't know. And that was a live frog as well?
Oh, yes, ever so. He actually ended up on the lens once.
And again, I suppose that's not
But that's,
a...
again, not, I mean,
not something-
would never use anything like that, I'm sure. Or woman, or a lot of the mags which are in that kind of area.
No,
That's right.
I don't approve that at all.
Not quite. Well, it really came about because I went to a party where all these young ladies were presenting themselves like lambs to the slaughter, it seemed to me.
Ah, now we're back to
But that's
something a bit more sensible.
never been
then.
used. That's,
Oh, really?
No, which I thought was going to be used, but never was. First off, I did it with somebody's fingers,
Yes.
real fingers, but they look, I mean,
Look like
even
fingers.
your fingers probably aren't as perfect as they ought to be.
Even
so,
mine.
Even yours. So I decided to make these perfect fingers and do a slightly surreal picture instead.
Tricks, isn't
Well,
it?
no, it looks very tricky, but actually it's very simple. This simply has a membrane of film around here, and then as you pour it, catch it, flash it
Oh,
as it
just
comes to
as
the very
it's
top.
about to.
205. Number one's coming up along the inside.
Which one's in the middle?
You want? We need number. Come on, number one. We need number one to come on the inside because otherwise I can't pay for the meal. 3, and we don't know. 3, 5, or 6. Ask the bookie. Ask the bookie. He was down there.
He says he wants to go to bed with me, the bookie.
I'll take bets on that. Yes, I'd love to bet. I bet we don't get served before 8:30. And also, I'd like 1 and 3 reverse pounds, please.
1 and 3.
I don't know what it means, but somebody just told me to say that.
I haven't got time to explain too much because I've bet a lot of money. Stephen Frost, very funny man, just never made it, unfortunately. But we're at Walthamstow Dog Track and we're going to make a lot of cash. We're putting it all towards a comedy fund for Stephen's career. And how come you've got such a fantastic restaurant here?
I don't know, I don't work here.
I'm not. Look where my eyes are looking. Look. Completely bypassing
You're looking
you.
at the camera all the time.
I don't really know.
No, but it's a nice spread, isn't it? It's like a very good restaurant at a place where you wouldn't expect it. Like Dawn said, she expected hot dogs because she's naive and hasn't lived much. She lives a sheltered life and she's got
Most
rich
people are
parents and lives in a
surprised.
castle in France.
It's much better
What
than
do
it.
people eat the most? What's the main order you get? Mixed grill.
Which I've ordered, because I'm a man of the people.
The steaks are all Angus beef. Flagging Angus beef.
They still got the horns on them and the hairy bit on the top. Which I can do with. I'll have the Angus beef. I can do with the Angus beef.
Yes.
Thank you very much. So, you should run the business. So,
I just don't know whether I... Yes, I won...
you've won a race.
I put
you've
£1
got a meal
on it, and I think I've won £1.50 back.
And you've got food in front of you.
But
You have
I'm
a glass
happy.
of wine.
I'm so happy. Honestly, I couldn't be happier.
Have you ever been anywhere where you've had a meal and watched a theatrical experience, or you know, a play, or dancing, or singing,
Yes.
or
Yes, I have done that.
cabaret, or comedy?
I have
You
done that, but I always feel a bit sorry for the person on stage because here's the noise. Here's our noise, right?
Yeah.
And this.
And if that noise happens to coincide with your punchline,
Then you're finished.
yeah,
And that's happened to you quite a lot, hasn't it?
especially if the noise is funnier than your punchline. I'd like reverse 1 and 6, please. Pound, yeah, pound, and
How do you know the name?
and
What's the name?
It's all here,
I've
it's
had
all-
a very simple meal, which is all I wanted, but it's dead good. Dead good.
I eat a lot. I like to eat a lot. Potatoes are real. The steak is tender. I like bacon. It's okay. It's good. I'll come here again, won't you?
I certainly will, darling. Should we come next week? Oh, no,
How much
I
you
don't
love
eat
it,
mustard!
Up there, you put the bit on the toe. Down here,
Yes.
we give it. This is my. See Douglas Towler, right? He's
Yes.
the bookie down here, right?
Yes.
He's a mate of mine, right?
Yes.
He gives a good price on the dog we're going for, right? It's a good price.
You reckon?
Yeah, 4 to 1. 4 to 1. Put 5 on, get 20 quid back, okay?
4 to 1, 4 to 1.
Right, that's exactly
Oh, it's lovely.
right.
God, it's got a lot of mud in my face. Come on, I've got my house on this. I'm mortgaging my house.
What do you want? Number 1.
Yeah, one. It's not.
Number 2. You lost it.
Many famous men, oh, like Napoleon, an army marches on its belly. So I'll tell you what to do, cook up some Irish stew, but on second thoughts I fancy tagliatelle. So get into the kitchen and start, 'cause food is the way to a good man's heart. If you're grilling, then I'm willing to bite the toast. Ha, 'cause you're the host. And if you're frying, how could I be denying? Won't count the cost. Hey, I love my Scoff. A 3-course meal would make me feel so very loopy. Let's start with chicken soup. Hey, I'm a thinking I don't mean to be a burden. I really dig some vegetarian. And for pudding, whip me up a light so big, 'cause it would go down smooth like anything by Mel Torme. If you're frying, how could I be denying? I won't count the cost. I love my Scoff. And in the food department,